Laura Magdalene Pickering, was born in Wales. And as a child, we would visit her. She often wore an apron, which she had those little pink Canada mints in. So we used to like to visit. We always chuckled when she would try to speak because she had the Welsh accent. And as she got older, she reverted back to Welsh. And it was always funny as children because we didn't speak Welsh. Back in 2018, I became a grandmother, and of course, I'm going to pick Nina as my grandmother name. Then the pandemic hit, and I decided I was going to try to learn Welsh. So my journey to Wales was to speak Welsh. In 7th grade, I did a report, and I dedicated it to my great-grandmother, and the report was on Wales. And in the conclusion of my report, I wrote, "Someday I want to go to Wales and speak to a real Welsh person." What a journey. So I went to Northern Wales. The first night, my very first night in Wales, I was fortunate enough to stay with the two Susans, and they, welcomed me and just showed me around and just made me feel like I was at home. My great-grandmother was born in Llanberis, and my goal was to go to where she was born. She was born in a house called Korhonen. So my husband and I headed off to Llanberis, and we parked at a local restaurant and asked if anybody had heard of this house name. No one would help us. So I said, well, I have a pin drop and a map. I'm sure I can figure out how to get there. So we headed off on foot. More about that in a bit. So we also went to Llanberis, where my idea of going to Wales was, yeah, okay, slate quarries, it's going to be barren, it's going to be ugly, et cetera, et cetera. I could not have been more wrong. My husband and I took a trip and a walk around the slate quarry, and this was overlooking Lake Pattern onto the town of Llanberis, and we had the most incredible weather. Blue skies, just beautiful. And I too, growing up in New England, have a fondness for stone walls. I never thought that there would be such beautiful stone walls on our walk. This is up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. Just these absolutely gorgeous stone walls. And all I could think of is these men building these walls, all the manual labor and just the artisticness and the ability of them to put stones together to have something as beautiful as this. The walk down out of the quarry, I got a picture of my husband's back. He really did enjoy himself. And a rare picture of me, obviously he took it because my skills are not very good with the camera. When we were in Llanberis, we stopped at the visitor center because we were hoping to get train tickets up to Mount Snowdon or Airwoodla, but they were sold out. So I was figuring I was going to be brave, and I was going to talk to the lady at the station, and of course, any person learning Welsh, a logical question that anyone would ask is, where are the mountain goats? I think I threw her off a little bit because she said, what? So I repeated it 3 times before she finally understood what I was saying. Well, she was so impressed with my ability to speak Welsh that she gave me a free candy bar. Meanwhile, my husband is like, come on, there's people in line, just hurry it up, let's get back to the car. So we head back to the car. Later I found out that that conversation that I had about mountain goats cost us a parking ticket. Anyway, so we were up in the mountains and I saw in the distance a mountain goat. And I'm yelling at my husband, I'm like, a mountain goat. It's a mountain goat. And he's like, no, it's a sheep. I said, it is not a sheep, it is a mountain goat. So he takes out his binoculars, and of course, I was right. It was a mountain goat. And we've always had this running joke about mountain goats and seeing a real mountain goat, because when we were out west, my goal out in the Rocky Mountains was to see a mountain goat. Well, I thought I saw a mountain goat then, and I made my husband turn around, and it turned out it was just a cutout of a mountain goat. He won't ever let me live that one down, but I got him on the mountain goats. And on the left picture is the classic picture that I don't know if people have seen. It's the houses that the quarrymen would stay at. And it just struck me as just so beautiful, and it just made me feel like I was at home. So okay, back to going to Bryn Raybell. So this was the path or the road that we were to drive up. Fortunately, we walked, because there really was no way to turn around on this road. The gate, when we walked up, we got to a gate and the gate was closed, and I thought that that's where I needed to go to see my great-grandmother's house. And I said to my husband, I don't know, the gate's closed. I don't think we should go. In one ear. In the other ear, I heard Susan say, if you're in Wales and you see a house that you want to go in and your ancestors live there, do not be shy, knock on the door. So just as I was contemplating climbing over the fence, a truck came, and the guy gets out, and I had asked him, you know, if he knew where Penacloglin was. And he gets out and he looks at me and he smiles and he says, yes. He says, I'm Mr. Penacloglin, I live there. And he says, would you be looking for your grandmother, Laura? And I was like, all right, small town, how the heck would he know that I am looking for my great-grandmother, Laura? Turns out my aunt was there about 35 years earlier, but regardless. Yeah, so he had to step out, we walked up and took a look around. But what really struck me was this ruins of a house on the bottom right here. There was something about this house that it stuck with me, and I couldn't quite figure it out. I still haven't figured it out, but I will. One of the houses that my third great-grandfather had lived in was called Bryn Kellen, which means the Holly Hill. Around this house were a lot of hollies. So I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm almost willing to bet that that's the house. Stay tuned. So I managed to get to the house. That's the house where my great-grandmother was born in. I got a close-up picture of the house that says Penacloglin. It was really cool. And the guy who lives there, when he came back, he invited us in. And it was just kind of cool to go into the house that I know that my great-grandmother was in, my third great-grandfather lived in. It just felt like I was home. It was a really surreal experience. But what really got me was he actually had a photograph of my great-grandmother, her cousin David, my third great-grandfather, and a great-great-aunt in a folder that he showed me. What's very special about this was before my trip to Wales, I said in my brain, wouldn't it be really cool if I could get a picture of my third great-grandfather? Never in a million years did I ever think I would. But there it is. Very special. That's a picture of my husband. He was smiling. He actually had a really good time in Wales, and despite his driving in America, I would take him any day to Wales and have him drive. He was spectacular driving. That was a picture on Penstein when I went to Nantguthern. It was so clear that day you could see Ireland. The weather was incredible. And the little heart stone at the bottom was a stone that I found after I left my great-grandmother's house. It was on the ground. I picked it up. Brings me very fond memories. And then, gosh, my brain went dead as to where this is. Llanberis. So one of my missions when I went to Llanberis was to take a climb up to Llanberis Castle. Unfortunately, Netflix was doing a filming the week I was there, so I was unable to go there. But I was inspired and did kind of a watercolor of the castle on the top. And I sent it to Susan, and I said, "Hey, Susan, what do you think of this?" And she goes, "Oh, it's Llanberis Castle." So I thought I was pretty good to actually have her recognize it. Anyway, that's my talk, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, very much.
Thank you.